Thursday. Let's see here. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. So, today we are going to continue our discussion about the conditionals. So, what conditionals have we covered so far? Who can tell me?
Very.
Zero conditional.
That's one of them. Zero conditional, absolutely. And what's the other one we've covered?
First conditional.
First conditional. All right. So we've got zero and first. All right. Now, the second part of the question, who can tell me a zero conditional sentence? Anyone that you would like. Who can say something in the zero conditional? Hmm. Grace. Oh, you want to try? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Zero conditional. If I heat the water, it boils.
Okay. Very good. If I heat the water, it boils. All right. Now let's try to use that same sentence or those same details in the sentence and let's change it to the first conditional. So now, Grace, how about you give that a try? So Ray said, if I heat the water, it boils. Well, how can we make that into the first conditional?
If I heat water, it will boil.
Yeah, exactly. It will boil. So we know that the zero conditional is used for things that we know will always happen or things like facts, general rules. So we know that that's how we use the zero conditional. Now the first conditional are things that are likely to happen, but may or may not. So that's the difference in those sentences. So that's how we use them. Now, to get a little bit of practice, everyone, please use the link I attached in the chat. I can send it again, but the in our chat, if everyone scrolls up to the top, there should be a link for a word wall, and it should say warm up zero and first conditional. So first conditional versus zero conditional game show quiz. It looks very colorful, green and pink. So if everyone could click that and go ahead and make sure you include your name and then complete the exercise. And remember, like last week, we'll get to see the leaderboard. So try your best to see if you can get all of them right and have the fastest time. So I will let you all get started there. And I think I'll give about 5 minutes for this activity. So at 10:40, I will see where everyone is at. 10:40. Okay? Is anyone having issues accessing the link? Just raise your hand and I'll try to figure that out if you can't access the link.
往上滑那个 chat box 往上滑就可以看到那个一个 link， 找不到的赶快跟我讲，举手，现在举手跟我讲。Okay, everyone. All right. No one raised their hand, so I think it's okay.
Okay. Good. So let's do that. And while the students are working on this project, so some of you who were on the call at the very beginning may have heard Luke mention about the office hours. So a few of you who may be on this call attended office hours last Thursday. It was our first one, and I believe it was very successful. So our next office hour will be tomorrow on Tuesday, and it will be from 8 to 9 Eastern, 7 to 8 Central. So please join us if you have some time, if you have any questions. Again, These office hours are really meant to be an open conversation and discussion where you can bring any issues or curiosities, questions, maybe things that you've run into in your student teaching or tutoring. Maybe it's questions about lesson planning or how we organize activities or get student participation. Any of those types of questions, feel free to join us for the office hours tomorrow, and we will have a discussion about those. Okay, so again, that will be tomorrow, Tuesday, from 8 to 9 Eastern. 8 to 9 Eastern, so. Okay, so let's take a look at how everyone did. Let's take a quick look. All right. And the winner is Angel, Grace, and Barry. Top three. Angel, Grace, and Barry. Great job. Everyone got 100% on those. But Angel, Grace, and Barry did the best of the class. So congratulations there. All right. So great job. That was just a quick review of the first versus the zero conditional. So now for today's class, we're going to build on that. We're going to build this into our next conditional, which is the second conditional. So we know that the zero conditional, we started off with things that are always true and things that are either facts or general held knowledge that everyone accepts. So always true. Second, or the first conditional, we learn were things that could be true, likely are true, but maybe not always true. Now, our next conditional, the next level, we're going to start talking about things that are probably not true or may not come true, our fantasies or dreams, things that are not as likely to happen. So here we have a quick review of our other conditionals. Zero conditional, we know from Ray and Barry that the zero conditional we use if plus a present simple and the present simple clause. So if water reaches 100 degrees, it boils. First conditional, if plus the present simple, but we're going to add the will. So when the water boils, I will add the pasta. So something that is likely to happen if our water starts boiling. Okay? So now it's time to learn our second conditional. So how do we use the next conditional, the second conditional? So this is used to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. So for example, things that you're imagining, or like when you're imagining a dream, or so things that you're either imagining or dreaming. So who can tell me? Who can tell me what do I mean when I say that you imagine something or that you dream something? Can anyone give me an example of imagining something or dreaming something? How about Angel? What about you? What do you think if I said it's something that's not likely to come true, so it's something that maybe you imagine or you dream. What do I mean by that? What do you think?
Mm, so that are probably not come true, right?
Yeah, it'll probably not come true. And when you imagine something or you dream something, can anyone tell me, give me an example? What is
Mm,
something that you may have imagined or dreamed?
Like I can fly.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. I can fly. I could fly. Yeah. So we might dream that we can fly, or maybe we can imagine that we fly like a bird. But not likely that we can fly, or it's even impossible that we can fly. So when we talk about things like that, that's when we use the second conditional for things that we dream about or we wish could come true but likely won't. The other thing that we use the second conditional is to talk about something in the present which is impossible because it's not true. So we use it in two ways. One is to talk about things in the future that probably won't happen, or things that are happening right, or things in the present that are impossible, that can't happen. So again, both are things that are either impossible or not likely to happen. So let's think of some how we form it. So we form the second conditional very similar to the others, but now instead of using will, we're going to use would. So the second conditional uses the past simple after if, and then would and the infinitive. So if, past simple, would, an infinitive. Okay. Now, I do have a note here that if we're really speaking formally, sometimes we can use were instead of was. So, like, if I were to instead of would, if I would, or instead of if I were. So, that's just a different case. So, let's look at some examples, why don't we? Okay. So, first example, if I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. So, this first sentence uses our first example of the second conditional. It's something that happens in the future or could happen in the future, but is unlikely to happen. So, if I won is past tense. If I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. So we all know winning the lottery is very unlikely. Very unlikely. Only a few people win the lottery. So it's unlikely that we will win. And that's something in the future. Okay? Our second sentence, if I had his number, I would call him. So this is our second scenario. This is our second situation. Because I don't have his number right now, in the present, I don't have his number. So it's impossible for me to call him. I can't do it. So I'm saying if I did have his number, I would call him. But since I don't, I can't. Okay? So let's think of some examples of that. Who can give me an example maybe of something that you could think about or dream or imagine in the future? And try to use the second conditional. So let's use this structure here. If a past tense word here, and then would. Okay, let's see. Can anyone take a try? Try to form a second conditional sentence. How about Joyce? Joyce, how about you? What's something that you could dream or imagine for the future that you could put into a second conditional sentence?
Joyce, are you there? Okay, Percy raised his hand.
Percy, yeah, go ahead.
If I had a long vacation, I would go to Europe.
Yes, that's a great example, Percy. If I had a long vacation, I would go to Europe. So right now, Percy may be thinking he's not going to have a long vacation soon. So maybe it's not likely to happen. But if he did, he would go to Europe. So that's a great second conditional sentence. Now, can someone else give me an example of something that maybe isn't true right now that we could use the second conditional to describe? So something like our second example, if I had his number, I would call him. So what's something in the present that's not true or impossible
Okay,
that we could use the second conditional for?
Joyce.
I thought I almost heard you, Joyce. Must still have a little problem with the audio. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can
Well,
go
let's
ahead.
try. Yeah, let's try it. Barry, how about you? Can you think of something that maybe isn't true or impossible right now in the present and put that into the second conditional?
If I had wings, I would fly.
Yeah, if I had wings, I would fly. So you don't have them. It's impossible for you to have the wings or for you to have wings. So we use the second conditional to describe that. Good. So both of those were great examples. Thank you, Percy and Barry. So now let's move on. Let's look at the first versus second conditional now. So the first conditional, remember, first conditional is for things that are likely to happen. Likely to happen. So that's the big difference. So let's look at these two sentences. If I had enough money, I would buy a house with 20 bedrooms and a swimming pool. Now, the second sentence. If I had enough money, I'll buy some new shoes. Which one of those is the first conditional? Which sentence? is the first conditional? Huh? Iris, what do you think? Which one is the first conditional? Oh. Oh, and it went away. Someone raised their hand. Go ahead. If you raise your, you can respond.
The right one.
The right one. Yeah, exactly. The one on the right. So you can see in red, if we read that the writing there in red, it's much more likely that I'll have enough money to buy some shoes. So there you go. If I had enough money, I'll buy some new shoes. So that's a very likely thing that you could do if you had enough money. However, it's much more unlikely that if you had enough money, you would buy a house with 20 bedrooms and a swimming pool. That's very unlikely for most people. And so that is what we use the second conditional for. Okay? So again, this kind of conditional sentence is different from the first because it's a lot more unlikely. So the biggest difference between the first and second is just the likelihood of something happening or the possibility that it can happen altogether. So in Barry's example, if I had wings, I would fly. It's impossible. So we use the second conditional. So for things that are likely or are possible, that's when we're going to continue to use our first conditional. So let's practice. Let's look at some examples here. So what I'm going to do for these next couple of ones, I'm going to present a situation and then you tell me if you think it should be the first or the second conditional. If you had to describe or tell about this situation, would you use the first or second conditional? So let's do the first one as an example. So Eric, could you read the blue area, those 4 sentences in blue? Could you read those for the class?
It's my friend's birthday next week. I want to get her a present. I always forget things like birthday. She gets quite upset when I forget things.
Okay, so let's think about this one. So you're saying that it's your friend's birthday next week. Well, that's something that's possible, okay? Now, you want to get her a present. Also, the likely thing, usually we like to get people presents for their birthdays, okay? I always forget things like birthdays. Okay. You always forget things. So that again, very likely to happen because you always forget things like birthdays. And then she always gets quite upset when I forget things. So again, it's very likely that your friend will get upset if you miss her birthday or you don't buy her something for her birthday. So who can give me a guess? Do you think that we would use the first or the second conditional in this scenario? Ray, what do you think? First or second conditional?
First.
Okay. First conditional. Yes, absolutely. All right. And so let's read this sentence. So if I forget to buy my friend a birthday present, she will be upset. So again, we can sum up that entire situation in this sentence. And since it's something that is likely to happen, we will use the first conditional. So we're going to use the present with the will and the participle there. So she will be. She will be upset. Okay? So let's take our next example. All right. How about, let's see. How about Angel? Angel, could you read let's read the first two sentences of our blue.
You are dreaming about buying a new car. The car you want is expensive.
Okay. Now, how about Iris? The next three. Finish the blue sentences for us. Oh. How about, let's see, Grace? Grace, how about you read those next three sentences? A promotion?
A promotion at work will help you to be able to afford it. Nobody at work has talked about the possibility at promotion. You just dreaming it.
Okay. So, first or second conditional? Joyce, what do you think? First or second conditional? Hmm. Uh-huh. Oh, first. Okay, first. Hmm. Okay, so let's look at this. So it isn't first, it's actually second. But let's look at why. Why would this one be the second conditional? So we can see here in the fourth sentence, it says nobody at work has talked about the possibility of a promotion. So that means that if no one has mentioned it, you haven't heard anything about a promotion or a way to get a new position at work, a better position at work, to be promoted to a new position. You haven't heard about anything. And especially the fifth sentence, you're just dreaming it. So remember, our second conditional, we use that for things that we are dreaming about or imagining, things that aren't likely to come true or aren't possible. So we're going to use the second conditional. Okay, so look at this. So a sentence we could use. If I got a promotion at work, I would buy a new car. So it's a little different. First conditional, we would have said, I will buy a new car. But now we're going to use I would buy. So you're dreaming about this new car. You're dreaming about the promotion. These are things that aren't very likely to happen. Okay, let's try another. All right. Angel, can you read our blue sentences?
You are deciding what to cook for dinner. Someone suggests making a spicy dish. You know that
Suggest. On the someone suggest.
someone suggests making a spicy dish. You know that your family hates spicy food.
Okay, so what do you think, Angel? What do you think about this one? First or second conditional?
I think it's first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and why is it the first conditional? Why would we say that?
Mm, It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not impossible. And more than not impossible, it's likely. It's likely that it will happen. So the third sentence says, you know that your family hates spicy food. And so, if you know that they hate spicy food, you already know that this is something that they already you've experienced this before, so you know that it will happen. It's very likely that they will hate the spicy food. Okay? So first conditional. Now, can anyone think of a sentence that we could use to describe this scenario, or something that we could say about this scenario similar to how we made a sentence in the prior two examples? Can anyone make a sentence of this scenario? Percy, why don't you give it a try? Can you make a first conditional sentence that applies to this scenario?
If I cook a spicy dish, my family will hate it.
Ah, good. My family will hate it. Or in this case, I put my family won't eat it. But yes, will not eat it, will hate it. Very good. Very good. That is a first conditional sentence about that scenario. Awesome. All right. Next up, Percy. Could you read our scenario?
A friend asked you to take care of their dog while they're away. You would feel horrible if the dog ran away. You know that it probably won't happen. Now you ask your friend to imagine that possibility anyway.
Okay. What do you think? First or second?
First,
Okay. First. Now, why? Let's see. So why do you think first?
uh, uh, I think it's the second one. I
Okay,
changed my
there
mind.
you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's the second. Good job. Okay. You changed your mind. So it's the second. And why did you switch to second? Why did you say that now?
Because they say that I know that it probably won't happen.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It probably won't happen, but you ask your friend to imagine that possibility anyways. So we're using our imagination. It's something that is likely not going to happen. So second conditional. And how about Barry? Can you think of a sentence that we could use in this scenario using the second conditional?
If I didn't take care of their dog, the the dog would run away.
Okay, that's good. If you don't, or I would say if you don't take care of the dog, it would run away. So if you don't take care of the dog, it will run away. Or if my friend's dog ran away, I would call him right away. So that's another take on this situation, because you're imagining that what would happen if the dog ran away. So maybe if your friend's dog ran away, you would call him to let him know, to see what to do, to tell him that the dog ran away. Okay.
Bertina and Evan are on this call, so maybe you can
Oh,
call on them.
yes, Protina. Let's go with
Bertina,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Protina. How
Bertina.
about you read the first, or the blue section?
Uh, you love tea so much. You imagine that would happen if you ran out of tea. Luckily, you don't. That would, you know that would never actually happen.
Okay. So what do you think? First or second conditional?
Mm, Second.
Second, yeah, yeah, because it won't actually happen. It won't act. You don't think that would actually ever happen. So good. All right. And so I have an example here. What's a sentence that you think that you could make of this situation? What do you think? So there's an example sentence there, but what do you think? What's another possibility that would happen if you ran out of tea, if there was no more tea?
A.
Oh, that's okay. Want to try reading this sentence here? What does that
If
one say?
if I ran out of tea, I would never get out of bed.
Yeah. So again, this one's not very likely to happen. So it's not very likely that you will run out of tea. And even if you did run out of tea, you probably would get out of bed eventually. You probably would not stay in bed forever. So again, second conditional. So you're right. Second conditional, not very likely to happen. All right. Very good. So now what I want to do is just there is a second word wall activity. So if you go up in the chat and go ahead and click the link in the chat for the second conditional activity in word wall. So this will just give us a little bit of practice forming sentences using the second conditional. So we're going to work on forming some more sentences. Okay? Similar to last time, if anyone has trouble accessing the link, let me know, and I can send or try to get it to you a different way.
好，请到那个scroll up，就是往上滑，有一个 second conditional，现在开始做。
And I will give everyone until 15 after, so 11:15. We will come back and do some final practice on the second conditional. Okay, everyone, oh, okay, last few seconds here. And we will take a look at the leaderboard. So let's see how everyone did. And our top 3 for the second conditional practice exercise are Barry, Ray, and Angel. All right, Barry, Ray, and Angel. Good job, Barry number 1 this time. So good job on that. So that exercise was just to fill in some words using to form a second conditional sentence. So good job on that. And now, just for the last few minutes of class, I want to bring in the picker wheel again because I'd like everyone to answer some cool questions or some questions that are pretty fun. So, ready? All right, who's going to be our lucky first? Lucky first up. All right. How about Eric? Eric, are you still? Yep, Eric. You are first. So I'll ask the question. Let's see what your lucky question will be. My wheel's a little slow going tonight. There we go. Oh. Oh no. Let me see. It didn't. I think my wheel is not quite right today. That was the old wheel. Let me see if I have my updated wheel. I think I put it in the chat here. So I'll make up my own question. So Eric, for you, if you won the lottery, what would you do? So we talked about winning the lottery. It was one of our examples earlier. So if you won the lottery, what would you do? And the lottery is when you play a little game and you can win a lot of money. So maybe $1 million. So you win a lot of money. What would you do if you won $1 million?
If I won the lottery, I would go to a trip.
All right, you would take a trip. Try that one more time. If I won the lottery,
If I won the lottery, I would take a trip.
yeah, there you go. You would take a trip. All right. And let's see, how about Angel? If you had 10 brothers and sisters, what would you do?
If I had 10 brothers and 10 sisters, mm, I would be I would be very I would not be very bored.
That's for sure. There would never be a dull or boring moment in your house with 21 children running around. So that's a lot. Yeah. Okay. So how about Joyce? If you were a famous YouTuber, what would you do? And Joyce is typing. Ah, you would buy a lot of strange things. Okay, strange things. So we want to make sure we add our S there since you're going to buy a lot of them. So that's more than one. So I would buy a lot of strange things. Oh, okay. Well, that would be interesting to know what types of things you might buy. Okay, everyone. So that will reach that we're at the end of today's class, which I think is an exciting topic. So make sure to check your Google Classroom. There's a little bit of homework this time, which will be a reading exercise, and then we'll ask you another question about what you would do. So I will see everyone next week.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Joyce, yeah, please test your audio and hopefully we can hear you better next time. Okay. All right, so students, unmute your mic and say thank you, Teacher Quentin.
Thank you,
Thank
teacher.
you,
Thank
Teacher
you,
Thank
Teacher
you,
Quentin.
Quentin.
Teacher
Thank,
Quentin.
thank you, Teacher Quentin.
Thank you, teacher.
All right, see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye,
See you.
class.
Bye bye.
Bye.